Hello, thanks for joining me. I just thought I'd share my thoughts after having had my first real proper ride out on the little Royal Enfield Classic 350. The other day it was a bright, beautiful, bright February day, but it was a bit cold. But I decided to have a little ride round. I couldn't resist having a ride round on it, so off we went. And I'd like to give you my first thoughts on the bike, on the running and procedure, and just show you I fitted one accessory to the bike when I had it, which was the sump guard, and I just wanted to show you that I'm quite pleased with that and show you why. Now here we are. This is the day after the ride and it's still pretty grubby. I haven't washed it yet. And we're just getting around to it now. If you look at the front mudguard, even the back mudguards, they're lovely big mudguards that encase the wheel completely. They go right the way down at the front. Let's look at the front one. It goes right the way down to the wheel. And you wouldn't expect there to be much sort of splatter on the front of the engine. You can see my sump guards fitted there. And I'm just sort of zooming in a little bit on the mudguard itself. You wouldn't think much would get past that, would you? Because you don't get them more encased than that nowadays. However, you might be quite surprised to see the next shot, because some of the roads I went on were little B roads and there was a little bit of mud. It is February after all, and there we are. You can see on that the sump guard is doing its job in keeping all the crud off the front of the engine and off the soft alloy parts that could cause corrosion. So I think that says it all. It answers everything. Was it worth it? Absolutely yes. Because let's face it, even on a summer day you can go through a puddle. I'm trying to show there that the engine's quite clean. There's nothing on the engine at all, just for the fitting of that sump guard. So overall, I'm very happy with that. Very good addition, I think, personally. What do you think? I'm surprised that much gets past the front mudguard, to be honest, but it clearly does. So the sump guard, for me, is a big tick. Now, a little bit later on, I'm going to wash the bike in a minute, and while I'm washing the bike, I'll just talk through my thoughts on the bike, my initial thoughts on the running in procedure and generally riding the bike, and the vast majority are very favourable. There's just one or two tiny little niggles, which are probably, some of them are down to me, down to operator error, but I'll mention those as well. It'll be warts and all, but to be honest, there's not many warts. It's a great little bike. And at the end of when I wash it, I'm just going to show you something that might be of interest to some people that I find really useful and a really good addition. When I told it to a couple of mates I've got, they just laughed it off. But I think it's worthwhile, and I'll show you what I do at the end after I've washed it and let you see see what you think. So, I guess the first thing to talk about initially is my reason for buying this particular bike. The budget was around the price of the Enfield, between about 4 and 5k. And let's be honest, there's lots of alternatives, lots of choice out there for that sort of budget. You can buy almost anything you want for that budget on the second-hand market, whether it be a big tourer, cruiser, sports bike. That money will buy you a lot of bike, a lot more technologically advanced and faster, and with all the gizmos on it. You know, that budget will buy that. But ultimately, I'm getting on in years now, and I've had these bikes before. I've had lots and lots of bikes, starting with a Yamaha FS1E when I was 16, and now I am 65 this year. So I'm getting on a bit, and I've done all that. I've got the T-shirt for the big bikes. I've had the Harley, I've had the Electroglides and the Gold Wings and the Pan-Europeans. I've had the Tourers. I've had the big adventure bikes, the big GSs and stuff like that. And now, for my needs, what I wanted was something smaller that I could just tickle around on. That's unthreatening. I don't want to be, racing up and down anymore. Those days, if they were ever here, have long gone. So I was looking at this type of bike. I was also looking, I considered a small adventure bikes. I've had a few of these in the last few years. Things like, I've had a Himalayan, great little bike. I've had a BMW GS310, another good little bike. A bit more power than the Himalayan, but a little bit revvy. I also considered the new Triumph 400, but when I went up to the local dealership to have a look at them, although they're nice bike and well built, I'm sure, it just didn't seem to tick all the boxes for me. So I went to the Enfield, and the major competition for the Classic was actually an Enfield Meteor, or maybe even a Hunter. But I decided ultimately to go for the Classic, and I'm glad I did. I'm really pleased I did. I'm really, really pleased with it. It offers everything that I'm looking for. Now, I took delivery of my bike in early February from my local Royal Enfield dealer, because he was offering me an incentive to have it, to basically not wait till March, till the new registration comes out. People in the UK will be aware that we have 2 registration date changes a year, and many people wait for those before they have the new vehicle. But he gave me a bit of an incentive and sort of convinced me that it wouldn't take too much difference to the price in the long run. So I decided to take delivery, but I never intended really to use it much until really the spring, or spring sprung, if you like. So I wouldn't really envisage using it a lot until April, May time. But just the other day, shortly after taking delivery, there was a change of weather. The skies came out and I couldn't resist it. I had to take it out and have a tickle round on it. So the first thing, my first thoughts turned to the running in period on the bike, which is in 2 parts. It's all documented in the manual, and it's up to 500 kilometres, about 300 miles, and then between 500 and 2,000 kilometres they let you go a little bit quicker. But it's not massive speeds, and it's just about running it in properly, being gentle, don't let it labour, don't rev it to bits, and just be gentle for a little while, I think. One thing that I did notice was it does say in the manual to warm up the engine for a few minutes at idling speed to allow engine oil to lubricate all the moving parts in the engine before riding the motorcycle. So let it warm up, let it tick over a little bit. Now, as far as the running in itself was concerned, I think it's going to be quite easy. There's 5 gears on the bike, and they tell you the first 500 kilometres, about 300 miles, not to exceed 20 kilometres in first, 30 in second, 45 in third, 60 in fourth, and 70 in fifth. Now this equates in miles an hour roughly to 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 miles an hour. And once I started to ride the bike, I found it really relatively easy. It's not like you have to watch the speedo all the time and you're worried about going over. If you go over a little bit, it's not going to do any damage anyway. But essentially, as soon as you get rolling in first, you're probably up to 10, so you change into second. And then you just go a little bit further, and you can tell by the engine revs, in no time at all, you pick up that it's just a quick change, change, change. And if you see what I mean, it's very simple. And at 50 mile an hour, let's not forget that at 50 mile an hour, you're probably not actually doing 50 miles an hour. You're probably doing 45, 46. But it's a gentle running in process. And my first thought was, this is going to be tedious. It's going to be awful. But it really wasn't. It was a nice day. I think it's important to pick your roads. If you can pick little, like smaller A roads or urban areas where you have to change gear often, trying to avoid big hills and letting labour on big hills, and certainly no flat out stuff, but just be sensible with it and you'll be absolutely fine. Now I think what I'll do is I'll talk about how it rides and the details of the actual ride on the next video. So if you want to come back and have a look at that, then feel free. That'd be great. But in the meantime, I've sped this up a little bit now. I'll get it cleaned off and move on to the next part, which was just a little bit of a tip that I was gonna mention about drying the bike, basically. Once it's wet like this, obviously we need to get all the water off it and into the nooks and crannies. And many years ago, I bought a dryer, and I'll just show you how good that is. Well, I think it's good anyway. So here it is. It's a little pet dryer, about £100, readily available, and do a super job of blowing all the water out of the nooks and crannies. Doesn't take long to do, and I find it makes the finish much better than the blotchy finish you sometimes get when you use a chamois leather or another type of cloth, a towel or something like that. You can see from this footage, hopefully, that it blows it off and it gets into places where, quite frankly, you can never get into with a cloth. And it dries your electrics, and it's something that I'm personally really pleased with, and would recommend it to anybody who owns any motorcycle. So there's my little tip. If you knew this, if you use one yourself, then that's great. And if you don't, just consider it, because it really does do a cracking job of getting into the nooks and crannies that you can't get to. You can see from this that it works really, really well. Okay, so thanks for watching, and hopefully you can join me soon for the first proper ride out with the camera on the bike. So we'll have a run around the lane somewhere, and I'll give you more of my thoughts regarding the actual driving position, the way it drives, the way it rides, and all that sort of good stuff. So thanks for joining me on this one. I hope to see you soon on the next. Please consider liking and subscribing. It'll help the channel out, and hopefully I can do a fair bit more as the summer comes. Fingers crossed for a good summer. So thanks for joining me. See you soon. Bye.